is a picture of Homer, who himself was blind, reciting verse. It's itself a very stunning painting, I think. Not our focus for today, but still truly exquisite. Okay. So 3 years ago, Moritz House in The Hague announced Mazel Tov, it's a Rembrandt. Okay? And this was a painting they had in their collection for some time. It was originally thought to be a Rembrandt. Then they decided it wasn't a Rembrandt. Then they decided it was a Rembrandt. When Lisa and I visited here 2 years ago, they actually had set up a wonderful exhibit with a video describing the whole scientific process of how they went through this, the little paints they took off, the whole provenance of this painting. And I urge you when you return home to Google it and go on to the Moritz House's website and to watch the whole video of the lecture. It's really, really interesting. I see they use science to study painting, to study the origins of painting. And they'll reveal many interesting things, including that there's actually two canvases sewn together, which you can see if you look very carefully here. You see the seam of this. And there was actually a painting underneath here that is being painted over on this canvas. So there's a very, very interesting history to this painting. That said, aesthetically, one of the reasons why people have trouble thinking that this is a Rembrandt, this is a scene that was painted many, many times by Dutch painters who were interested in the Hebrew Bible. Rembrandt himself painted it as a young man long before this painting was created. I think they date this essentially 1650. So Rembrandt in the 1620s actually painted the same scene. And let's just review what scene this is in Tanakh. This is a scene of where Shaul HaMelech is told by Shmuel, we read about that part in the Haftarah for Parashat Zachor, that he's told that Kara Hashem, Shmuel criticizes him, and then he grabs out for Shmuel's cloak, and the cloak tears, and Shmuel says, Kara Hashem malchut me'alecha u'netana l'reyacha atov b'meka, that God has torn the kingship from you and given it to a fellow that is greater than you. After that, Shaul, we're told, a ruach ra'ah, an evil spirit, descends over Shaul, and they needed to help him, so they recommended they bring him a young warrior who knows how to play the harp, and to play the harp for him. At the same time, people are praising David, that they say Shaul has killed his thousands and David has killed his tens of thousands, and so Shaul is very jealous of him and says, oh, he wants the kingship. And so in this scene, what unfolds the second after the moment Rembrandt is recording is that Shaul grabs the spear that is in his hand and throws it at David. And that's what happens right after this moment. But the choice that Rembrandt makes here seems ostensibly weird, and it's a choice aesthetically that no one else has made before. And I'll pass out here. You can see on the left side is Rembrandt's early depiction of the same scene, 30 years earlier. It's in Frankfurt, based on the rule that most of Rembrandt's Jewish paintings are in Germany. And then you can see on the right an earlier Dutch painter, Lucas van Leyden, how he did the same scene. Okay, and the choice that you can just pass around. The choice that Rembrandt makes is the following. He has this weird motif with the curtain. Okay, everybody see this weird motif with the curtain? That basically most depictions of the scene just show Shaul sitting there looking malevolently at David HaMelech. But here, something odd is happening. That one eye is staring malevolently at David, but the other eye, he's crying, and he's wiping his eye with the tear of a curtain. It's almost like an unclassy thing to do. He grabs the curtain to wipe his eye, so that the curtain covers half his face. This is such an odd thing to do that many that scholars actually thought that because parts of this painting were added later, so that was something that Rembrandt had not put, and that someone else added the curtain later. But the studies reveal that no, that was original part of the conception of the painting. And so Rembrandt himself chose to do this, to drape this curtain. It's a very strange thing. If you're sad, you cry from both eyes. If you're angry from both eyes. No one is usually angry from one eye and sad from the other eye. How can that be? What is Rembrandt teaching us here? So the crazy suggestion I make, and I know this is crazy, and you just have to bear with me for a second. But the crazy suggestion I make is that to understand why Rembrandt paints a biblical scene, we actually have to wait for this crazy idea, read the biblical story. Now, I know it's crazy, but it just might work. Okay? So, if you actually look at the phrase in the Pasuk that's describing this in Sefer Shmuel, we have the following very interesting statement. It says, the following. Vayichar leDavid ma'od. It says that David was very upset. Shaul. Vayichar leShaul ma'od. Vayira be'einav hadavar hazeh. Vayomer natnu lo David revavot v'li natnu alafim v'od lo acham lucha. David all he wants now is the kingship. And then it says, and there's a kriyuk tiv here, it's a very strange word, but it says, Vayhi Shaul oyein et David, me'ayomahu v'ala, which means literally, Shaul kept an eye on David from that day on. It may be the origin, actually, of the phrase of keeping your eye on him. The standard translation of the biblical text is, he kept a jealous eye on David from that day on. Okay, and that's exactly what that's exactly what Shaul is giving us. Okay, he's giving us only one eye. This seems like a very good opportunity, even though we're on limited time, to tell one of my favorite jokes, where there's a police officer who's trying to see among the new recruits who could be a good detective. So he takes in one recruit and he shows him a picture, and he says, "What can you deduce about this picture that can help us catch the suspect?" So the guy looks at him and says, "Oh, we easily catch him because the guy has only one ear." And the guy says, and the head police officer says, "No, you're crazy. This is a profile. That's why you can only see one ear. Get out of here." And then he brings in another guy and says, "What do you see from this picture that can help us catch the suspect?" So the guy says, "Oh, we'll easily catch him because he's only one eye." And he says, "No, that's insane. He has two eyes. It's a profile. You only see one eye." So then he brings in a third guy and he says, "What can you tell about this picture to help us catch the subject?" And the guy says, "Oh, we can catch this guy because the suspect wears glasses." Okay, no, he says the suspect wears contact lenses. That's what he says. So he says, "Let me check on that." He goes to the file, he comes back and says, "You're absolutely right, the suspect does wear contact lenses. How are you able to deduce that? That's amazing from looking at this picture." And he says, "Well, I knew he couldn't wear glasses because he has only one eye and one ear." So the point is, why does he give us only one eye here? The interesting thing is that there's a huge tension that runs through the whole story of Shaul and David. On the one hand, Shaul is gripped by this malevolent hatred of David, but he also loves David. And similarly, David is running away from this man who wants to murder him, but he also loves Shaul. So he spent years running away from Shaul, but then when Shaul dies in the battle with the Plishtim, David gives this hesped, this tearful hesped, celebrating not just Yonatan, but Shaul's celebrating Shaul's thing. Why? The answer is that Shaul really develops at this point a split personality. Famously, when Shaul is chasing David, David gets close to him and takes off a piece of his cloak to show him that he can get to him, but he chose not to kill him. And Shaul cries into the darkness and he says, "David, I love you, etc." And he's telling the truth. One side of him is filled with darkness, and he does horrible things because he has this hatred. He massacres Noah of Ir HaKohanim. He does horrible things. And yet the other side of him is the part that God saw in him in the first place. And so if the eyes are the window to the soul, he gives you here with these eyes, one hateful, one crying, moved by David's music. He gives you a split soul. That's what he's giving you, and that is the essence of Shaul HaMelech. To put it slightly differently, if the eyes are the window into the soul, then Rembrandt creates for us a man whose soul is divided. If the tearing of Samuel's cloak in the original part of the story marks the tearing of the kingship from Saul, then what results is a torn Saul who has a torn soul. Part of him still reflects that greatness for which he was chosen for the kingship originally. What made him the anointed one, the Mashiach Hashem. It is that part that cannot fail to be moved by David's songs, the psalms of the music of David. But the other part is that malevolent eye, and that's been overtaken by the darkness. And so Rembrandt reads the story, and he's not just interested in capturing a scene. He's interested in understanding the person. What makes Shaul Shaul? And he understands in this amazing but also terribly sad painting what makes Shaul really one of the most complex and extraordinary and fascinating and tragic stories in the entire Tanakh. There is no other depiction. There are many paintings of this scene in the Bible, but there is nothing like this one that Rembrandt gives us. And it is this, not Girl with the Pearl Earring, that is the true one of the true treasures of this museum. And I thank you for allowing me to share it with you.
It's different than the original pictures.